Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, Episode 4, titled RDR Live. Last week, the queens competed in the Mother of All Balls, which saw Nymphia taking the win and Geneva and Hershey in the bottom two. Hershey was eliminated and now 13 queens remain. Before I dive in, if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe. Also, I put a link in the subject to my Drag Race playlist so you can catch up on my recaps if you're behind. Let's dive into it. The queens return to the workroom. Geneva thinks the queens saved Mirage from the bottom and doesn't feel like she should have been in the bottom in the first place. They sit down to celebrate Nymphia's win. She wants her leche now. Q feels she got better critiques than Nymphia and makes it known. They unpack the drama in Untucked, where Jane says she hated Amanda's look. Jane apologizes for giving feedback when it wasn't asked for. Amanda says it wasn't even part of the conversation and confesses that Jane can eat her ass. The next day in the workroom, the drama is unresolved. Amanda even says she has to stay away from Jane so she doesn't beat her ass. Ru comes in wearing a purple suit and sunglasses and tells them they'll be starring in RDR Live. They dish out the parts. Everything is cordial and peaceful until Jane tells Morphine she's gonna suck compared to Jane in a scene, so she kicks Morphine out of the scene and replaces her with Megami. Mirage and Saphira both want to be the hosts, but Saphira strategically backs out of it. Mirage realizes and instantly regrets the decision. Dawn and Plasma get into it too. Afterwards, Plasma has a little meltdown on the steps about being assigned a Barbra Streisand role and then goes on a tangent about how she knows so much about Barbra Streisand and talks herself into loving the role. Megami and Jane are getting along great. Mirage is isolating herself and seemingly not accomplishing much. Geneva does a southern accent that's so bad and she acts like she's never met a person with a southern accent. Isn't she from Texas? Ru comes back accompanied by the hilarious Ross Matthews. Ru calls Maya timid again and clearly wants her to put a lot of effort into this challenge. Saphira implies to Ru that she let Mirage be the host to screw her over. Ru and Ross seem to love the sabotage. As they get ready, Mirage talks about incorporating her Apache heritage into her drag, and Geneva and Tsunami share their personal experiences being DACA recipients. Amanda Tori is a professional ghostwriter for OnlyFans creators. On the runway, Ru is wearing a pink dress or jumpsuit, couldn't tell, don't care. It has reflective pink paillettes which add a nice effect. Michelle looks stunning, Ross Matthews is embarrassing Carson's sequin bomber from last week, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is of course looking fabuli. Onto the challenge. For those unfamiliar, RDR Live is Ru's version of SNL. They start with a cold open, which would be QNN End of the World Countdown, with Morphine as Brandy Cohen and Tsunami as Branderson Cooper, clearly parodying Andy and Anderson's New Year's where they got wasted. One thing I feel like the production missed out on was the costume and wigs for the RDR Live. SNL has a wig budget. They will put a blonde woman with long hair in a blonde wig. There's a certain white wig for Anderson Cooper that needed to be given to Tsunami that she could have never been expected to bring from home. So Brandy and Branderson are wasted and they cut to Maya in the field, who's also wasted, reporting a flood, and she is being loud and vibrant. They cut to Geneva playing Lindsey Graham, who goes by Lady G now. Firstly, it's fucked to expect these queens to know so much about politics to know who Lindsey Graham is. For reference, I'm going to include a picture of Lindsey Graham and a picture of Geneva in this challenge. The look was off, the writing was bad, and the line delivery was that of someone who had never spoken out loud before. Also, Tsunami and Morphine end up going under the radar because their parts weren't very big, but they were pretty bad too. I would also criticize this cold open for being overly political, but I feel like that is more of a knock on SNL because that's what they do. I really love how they mock the intro credits, announcing everyone and giving their candid B-roll. Mirage survives her monologue. I feel like this was to the level that actual SNL monologues are. I feel like they're always visibly awkward and uncomfortable. The monologues are usually not very funny, and if someone's struggling, they'll send in a guest actor to help them out with their skit. Mirage got no help. They sent her out there to die. Megami and Jane's Connie Thick and Candy Long, Thick and Long deck service is funny, talking about really long decks that wrap around to the side. They can even handle the hardest decks. Ross joins them as Richard Pig, aka Dick Pig. Ru is the musical guest. Ru looks great as a gold cowgirl and her wig is classic. The song isn't terrible, though I do wonder who the song is for. Next is the news segment with Amanda Tori and Dawn. Amanda Tori's makeup here looked really good. The jokes are really bad, but Drag Race's writers have pretty much been phoning it in for a long time now and counting on the queens to turn trash into treasure. My favorite part is Q as the first brick thrown at Stonewall. When asked who threw her, she says, "Does it matter?" Bitch! Wrapping up the show is the Barbara Shop Quartet. I hated this skit. Firstly, there's only 3 of them, and they have a shitty excuse why there's not 4. Nymphia's impression of Barbara is terrible. The only thing that forgives it is it's in the beginning of the skit, followed by Saphira, who is just being Saphira with a twist. I think Saphira really played herself by putting herself in this role instead of being the host. Plasma gives a dedicated performance that does make sense and really nails the part. Onto the runway, where the category is Night of 1,000 Shares. Let's talk about these looks. Tsunami's look is a great recreation. For the nude illusion, you could tell she's wearing a corset, but it looks nice and is well-fitting, so it's not a bother. She looks great. Morphine's Academy Awards Cher. This was good. I like the dress and hair. The makeup was weird to me, which was shocking because her makeup is always so perfect. Maya's look, on its own, I thought it looked like Cher. I thought it looked great. When they compare it side by side with the picture of Cher, I can see it doesn't look like the picture. I think Maya looks better than Cher. Geneva is Cher as the ringmaster at Ringling Brothers. I think this was fine. I think I would have liked to see this dragged up a little bit more. Look at the gorgeous amount of feathers on Cher's cap. Geneva just has her little Frosty the Snowman hat with a few feathers. Like, Carson would say Geneva looks like someone who's going to the mall. I thought Mirage's Cher look was great. I like the colors. I think the dress looks good on her. I like the hair. I like the makeup. Megami really looks like Cher. I feel like Maya could have said that she was being this Cher as well. I feel like the makeup that Megami did really well was what Morphine was trying to do. What I like the most is she nailed the characterization with the runway walk. Plain Jane is Cher at the Met Gala. She looks great. I love the hair and makeup. Compared to the reference photo, I think this could have been more successful with less feathers on the bottom of the dress. Amanda Tori is the Cher doll. I liked this. I didn't really like how the top fit and how it was kind of coming up a bit in the front. That was very distracting. Dawn is Mod Cher. I couldn't really judge this against the photo because the photo was in black and white. It was kind of giving me a headache. I guess the benefit of that is you can choose whatever colors you like. I don't know though. I think these colors were really ugly. Q is giving the people what they want with a near exact recreation of the original picture. She looks great. She was one of the few who met Cher at the level of drag that she was putting on herself. Plasma looks great. I think the dress looks really good on her, and the hair, the makeup, some of the makeup looks good. Nymphia does Cher, Egyptian goddess. For me, this was a ding dong. She took the original look, recreated it, and upped the drag level. Saphira does the same thing. She takes the picture, recreates it, and adds elements to make it more her own. I usually don't like when Saphira adds an unnecessary spooky element, but adding elements that adds the look, I accept. Rue asks Saphira and Jane if they want to use their immunity. It's a no from them, dog. The bottoms for the week are Maya, Mirage, and Geneva, and the tops are Jane, Plasma, and Q. The judges liked that Maya was committed to her role in RDR, but Rue still wanted more out of it, and Michelle doesn't like that she doesn't match her reference photo and her wig, saying it's not drag hair. Rue asks Maya to do her best Cher impression. She says, "I'm great!" And the judges and other queens lose their minds laughing. Michelle asks Geneva if she knows who Lindsey Graham is, and she says no. Ross says if she knew who he was, it would have been great. I don't think anyone could have made that great. They find reasons for Mirage to be in the bottom, including that she was telegraphing that a joke was coming. They wanted to be surprised by the jokes in a comedy routine, and Rue doesn't like that her wig is a 60s wig, not a 70s wig. Michelle later disagrees with Rue in deliberations, saying she liked the wig. They love Jane and Q's acting. Sarah calls Q comedic level funny and praises her runway look. Plasma also gets great critiques, but overall I feel like Q got better critiques. Later, they announce Plasma as the winner of the challenge and $5,000, and they cut to Q being clearly heartbroken and surprised. While I want to think this was a true victory, I can't help but feel like Rue and the producers are trying to break Q's spirit, like they love to do lately, to create story. Q should have won the challenge in my opinion. Maya is announced safe, another decision I don't agree with because they hated her acting and her runway, but she did make them laugh during judging. Geneva and Mirage lip sync to Dark Lady by Cher. At first, I was like, Mirage is taking this, and at first she is. Then she stops knowing the words, which is a shame because she's dancing so well. She gets tangled in her costume at the end and gets frustrated with herself as the music stops. Michelle says not one word about Mirage, which is pretty rude because she knew like half of the words, Michelle. Mirage is really upset as she's being eliminated. She breaks down on stage. This is the first really shocking elimination this early that we've seen in a long time. Usually the boot order is pretty predictable, and I really saw her lasting until the final 5 or 6 at least. The other queens seem to really love her, and I feel like we were shortchanged as viewers. I don't think she should have been in the bottom on this episode. I do think that the producers thought that Mirage would slay Geneva in this lip sync, and it was probably a shock to them as much as to us that she didn't know the words. As she is such a fierce lip sync performer, I think they really did want someone who looked like Cher in this lip sync. When she was doing well, she was embodying Cher. I wouldn't be surprised if they give this queen another chance as soon as this season, if not next season or All Stars. Untucked saw the continuation of Jane versus Amanda, but Jane was on stage in the top and Amanda was just talking about the situation to the other girls. The queens come back from judging and Mirage chugs her cocktail. Normally, I'd say that's never a good idea at work, but I had of a performance of this nature, it could help. Q is confident that she'll win the challenge, and then Dawn calls Jane out for being mean to Amanda. Jane again apologizes to Amanda, who seems to want to keep the drama going with Jane for her own benefit. Jane ain't scared of her. Sarah Michelle comes to talk to them, and Mirage tells the other queens she doesn't know the words to the song, which is mortifying and probably so scary. Dawn tells her that she can do it, but if you just don't know it, you don't know it, and 5 minutes before isn't the time to learn it, but she tries. After her elimination, Mirage has an emotional exit. 12 queens remain, and that's all I have to say about this episode. Next week is the girl group challenge. Personally, I think Morphine is in danger, girl. Let me know in the comments, who do you think is in danger next week? Also, what did you think of this episode? Don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. I'm like 3 subscribers away from my 600 goal, so help a guy out. Until next time, have a nice week. Bye!